So, first of all, I would like to thank to our Rabbi for organizing these presentations, and to Lela for making beautiful recording. And first, I have to make few pieces, probably 3 pieces, which I didn't have time to include it last time. So first, let us talk about Tree of Life. I told you that God made man in his image, which means that he made human soul in the form of Tree of Life. We cannot see soul of another people, we cannot see God, but from their action we can deduce something about them. You can deduce from action something about the people, and from God's action in this creation we can deduce something about God. As you can see, this Tree of Life has 3 pillars. Right hand pillar is pillar of love, gentleness, kindness. That's the right pillar of the tree. Left pillar is a pillar of judgment, of the law, of discipline. So that's the left pillar. And middle pillar is compromise of those 2. It is called pillar of mercy, because it has a judgment, however mixed with love, with understanding. You probably know that we have 10 Sefirot, right? Each circle is Sephirah. If you count them, do you find 10?
11.
11, that's correct. We have 11 circles here, and Rabbi say this one in the middle, this black one, is not really Sephirah. Does not belong on the tree, but we put it here for some definite reason, because it is place, highest place where we can reach by our effort, and here we can hear Ruach HaKodesh, divine inspiration. For divine inspiration we have to reach from lowest up to this one. And this Sephirah, or almost Sephirah, is called Da'at. And Da'at means in Hebrew, knowledge. I will not go through all Sephirahs today, because you would get confused and you would not remember it anyhow. So let us talk just about the top. So top Sephirah is called Keter in Hebrew, and Keter means crown. It is not place of God. God is somewhere above it. We heard that the God is named Ein Sof in Kabbalah and in Zohar. Ein Sof. Ein means there is not, and Sof means end. So God is called something which has no end. It means it is infinite. So God is somewhere above this Tree of Life, but his influence goes through all Sephirah, and it enters Tree of Life through Sephirah of Keter. So it enters through Sephirah of Keter. From Sephirah of Keter, the God's influence go into this Sephirah, which is highest in the column of love, which is called Chesed. No, Chochma, sorry. Chochma. And Chochma means wisdom. So if God interacts with this world, it goes through Keter to wisdom, to Chochma. From Chochma, impulse goes to Bina, Sephirah called Bina, which is understanding. You see, wisdom, one can get wisdom by divine inspiration, and one can say some sentences which are inspired, put into mouth of you or prophet by God. You may say them, but not really understand what it all means. To get hold of what it all means, the impulse has to come to Bina, to understanding. Bina is like analytical tools which get sentence apart and figure out what it means. And action of those two can really descend into this black, almost Sephirah, which is called Da'at, and Da'at in Hebrew means knowledge. So knowledge is really a combination of wisdom and understanding. In each lecture, I will go through few other Sephirot, so that before we finish fourth lecture, we will be completely done. I just don't want to do it in one session because it would become kind of, too much to remember, to absorb it. So we remember just function of these top 3 or top 4 Sephirot. Second thing which I want to do, I want to tell you what you can do, some practical suggestions which you can do immediately to start climbing on this tree of life to higher and higher level of consciousness, to higher spiritual levels. I don't want to leave it till the last lecture, as I originally planned. I want to give you some time to try to practice something practical right now, that before next 2 lectures you have some experience and some progress. So there are 4 things I want to emphasize. Okay, first one is a dog. You know what is dog, right? It is God backward. But everyone should have a dog. If you don't have a dog, you should get one. If you get one, you should get the second one. You are laughing, but that's very important. Without having a dog, it's difficult to understand what is selfless love. If you have a dog, you love him, everybody does. And what do you expect in return? Nothing. You are just giving love and giving, not expecting anything. It's very difficult to do the same thing with human beings, right?
What about cats?
Because human beings, well, depending how they take it, and you get eventually burned. But dog gives you good practice, and that's a love which eventually you have to feel towards all humans, without any exception. As long as you say, I love this person, I love that person, but I cannot love this person, then you don't know what love is. Love is, in Kabbalah and in other paths toward higher consciousness, love is state of being. It is not choice what you will do, whether you love someone or don't. You either are in the state of love or you are not in the state of love. So that the first point I wanted to give you, practical suggestion, if you don't have, get a dog. That's the first step on spiritual ladder, going upward. Second point is, forgiveness. We all are familiar with teshuvah. When we are sorry for transgression which we have made, and we are ask God for forgiveness, or we ask even the person whom we somehow belittle for their forgiveness as well. And there has been tens and tens of rabbis who wrote books about teshuvah. But there is another forgiveness, which is called in Hebrew salicha. That's forgiveness for the trespasses which someone else made towards you. You see, it is difficult even to remember all trespasses which you did against other people, because somehow you even don't register that you did something wrong to them. But if someone does wrong to you, surely you remember it. Surely you notice that. And here, God gave you power to forgive those sinners who did something against you. For teshuvah, for forgiveness of your sins, you have to ask God, forgive me. But for salicha, to forgive to other people, it is everything in your hands. You don't have to ask anyone, and God gave you the power to forgive sins of other people which they committed against you. And this is power which God gave you. It is like being co-creator with God, being his co-worker. And most of people completely neglect this great power which God gave you. You probably know some people, they will not talk to her sister or his brother for 10 years because he said something to them 10 years ago, right? And similar examples. So it is important each evening go through the day and find out what trespasses you made and do teshuvah for them, to be sorry for them. And also to go through trespasses which other people did to you and forgive them. Forgive them completely. That's very essential. Christianity puts on this forgiveness more emphasis than Judaism. They have the prayer, Lord, forgive me my trespasses as we forgive those who trespasses against us. And following it, there is a teaching of Jesus, but clearly he says, if you forgive to others their trespasses, God will forgive you your trespasses. And if you don't forgive to others, God will not forgive you yours one. And something similar in shorter version is really in Talmud, but not too many people look for it or bring it to attention of others. So that's extremely important. Forgive all trespasses, those who are made against you. And you see, if everybody would do it, there would be nothing left, right? If all people would do it each day, there would be no sin left. Everything would be forgiven. So that's really good path how to get forgiveness and how to participate or God power to forgive to others. I have here a story from Zohar, which I thought I may read to you. Let me see. For that I need, of course, my glasses. I am back. So this is one story with Zohar. It is called Greater Than Joseph. Sitting one day at the gate of Lydda, Rabbi Abba saw a man approach and seat himself on a ledge which jutted out over the hollow ground far beneath. The man was very tired with his travel and fell asleep. Rabbi Abba beheld a serpent crawling toward the man, and he had almost reached him when a branch fell from the tree and killed the serpent. Now the man awakened, and seeing the serpent before him, he jumped up. At this moment, the ledge collapsed and crashed into the hollow well below. Rabbi Abba approached the man and said, "Tell me, why has God seen fit to perform 2 miracles for you? What have you done?" And the man answered, "Whosoever wronged me at any time, always I made peace with him and forgave him. And if I failed to effect peace with him, then I refrained from going to take my rest before I forgave him, and along with him, forgave any others who had vexed me. At no time did I brood on the injury the man had done to me. Rather, I made special effort of kindness from then on to such a man." At this, Rabbi Abba wept and said, "This man surpasses even Joseph in his deeds. That Joseph should have been forbearing toward his brethren and show them compassion was only natural. But this man has done much more, and it is meet that the Holy One, blessed be He, work successive miracles for him." So this is just story, of course, for entertainment, to induce people to read it. But what is teaching behind it? As we talk about Salicha, about forgiving everyone, everything what may upset you. So this is 2 things if you remember now, right? First one is dog, and second is Salicha. Okay, third practical things which you should start doing is meditation. Meditation is very important. You don't have to meditate long time. You can do 10 minutes, you can do 15 minutes, but you should do it each day. Even if you don't feel like doing it, start doing that, and you will see after a few minutes, you will be at peace with the meditation. Perhaps some of you have meditation mantras from the past experience. If you can use any mantra, or you can use what we have done last session, basically yo and who, yo and who. But please, if you wish to do some steps on your spiritual level, rather than coming here just for curiosity and listening to me to talk, please These are three things now which you can do. And there is one more, which probably most of you will reject and saying it is not for me. That's why at Mount Sinai, when people were getting Torah, God asked them somehow, and they said, we will do, before he told them what it is they should do. So I don't ask you we will do, because I suspect you will not do. Okay, so the fourth one is eating meat. Eating meat is a poison, slow poison, which will not kill you, but it will keep you at lower level of spiritual level. I thought about reducing meat eventually to zero for last 10 years, wherever I taught. But at that time, I had not scriptural justification for my claim. I was just telling it from my own experience. But now, fortunately, I studied Zohar, and I found in Zohar perfect justification for not eating meat. So here we are. Before Adam sinned, it is written, Elohim said, behold, I have given you every herb. To you it shall be for food, and no more than this. So it was not permitted to eat animals. But since he had sinned, and the evil inclination was absorbed to his body and to all of his offsprings, he passed his judgment over them. In other words, he brought the great flood upon them. Later, Noah came and saw that the body is built by evil inclination. So he offered sacrifices as Adam did. And it is written, and Hashem smelled sweet smell, but he said, the impulse of man's heart is evil from his youth. The Holy One, blessed be he, said, from here onward, because the body is already filled by evil, let the body enjoy itself as much as it wants and eat meat. And now Rabbi explained what meat does. When man eats meat, the flesh of man receives pleasure from that flesh, and they mixed together. The flesh of man combines with the flesh of animal, and the body grows and is built by it. But as a result of the pleasure which man receives from eating meat, his body commits many sins. So, you can take whatever you want from this passage, right? If you agree that body is already filled with evil, that little bit more evil will not harm you, that's fine. But if you decide to purify your body and to purify your soul, it is up to you to take step first, reducing number of meats during the week which you eat meat. If you eat meat each day, maybe you can reduce it from 7 times to 5 times a day. If you have 5 times, maybe you can reduce it to 3 times. And if you eat meat 3 times, maybe just once a week will be enough. And then you can quit. most of Rabbi, as far as I know, basically completely neglect it. The reason is, first of all, they themselves eat meat. So it is difficult to preach to somebody not eat meat when I am eating meat, right? I have the right to do it because I quit eating meat in 1976. So last 44 years, I have not eaten meat. So my body, hopefully, according to that, is a little bit purified because it's not built anymore from protein of the meat of animals. And there is another reason for not eating meat, for reducing meat. It is the following. Animals, when they are going to slaughterhouse, they know what is going to happen. And they are in tremendous fear and in tremendous state of mind that they don't know what to do. And this fear in animals create a demon in higher world, in Yetzirah. And since each day millions of animals are slaughtered for food for men, millions of animals each day. So each day we supply million devils into Yetzirah, which then affect us backward, as we will learn later. And also they make Yetzirah very dense in such a way that prayer of man cannot pass through and to reach God. Prayers of man are blocked in Yetzirah by these little devils, which we create millions of them each day. That's why you have commandment, I believe, that Jew has to bless God 100 times a day. Because they say, if you say 100 blessings a day, one of them has a chance to reach God. So if you say less than 100 blessings a day, God does not know about it at all. Because everything gets stuck in Yetzirah. Okay, so these are 4 things I recommended you to do for practical changes in your life. Remember, it is done. It is forgiveness to others each day. It is meditation. And it is reducing meat. So that was like brief introduction. And you know, if you don't want to do it, don't hesitate to reject it, because Moshe Maimonides, as well as author of Zohar, they say, this teachings is not for all Jews. Most of Jews will be happy with literal interpretation of Torah and with practicing just mitzvah. And that's fine for most of Jews. But they say those few who have in their soul desire to do something more, for those few, this is general advice. Now I have to go back to last week lecture about Abraham, or about Abram. There is one piece missing on our recording from the last lecture, and it is just concerned this explanation. Zohar offers explanation on 3 levels. I choose this part of Torah specifically because Zohar made it clear what is ground level, what is higher level, and what is highest level. We know on the ground level, God says, Abraham, go to yourself from your land, from your birthplace, from your father's house, to the land which I will show you. So, ground interpretation, we all know what it means to move from Haran to the land of Canaan and start a new life, basically. So that the ground level and interpretation, literal interpretation of Torah. Second level is that God don't speak to Abraham only. He speaks to each of us. Leave your worry about your daily life. Leave them down and come with me to higher spiritual level, to the land which I will show you. We will see today or next time that we are living in the world which is called Azia, world of doing, world of action. First spiritual world above is, it's called Yetzirah, world of formation. And God is basically telling Abraham, go with me to the land which I will show you, which is Yetzirah, and I will give this land to you and your children and all other people which will arise from you as their inheritance. So God gives him word of Yetzirah as inheritance. We will see probably next week that when a person dies, his soul goes immediately to Yetzirah. And Yetzirah has many different levels. It goes from the highest, from very pleasant heaven, to the lowest, which is called Gehinnom in Hebrew. In Christian, it is called hell. All these are just part of continuous levels in Yetzirah, from the lowest Gehinnom to the highest. And depending on our life, what we do in this world, we go into appropriate level. But all goes into that. So God gave Yetzirah as land to Abraham for him and his descendants. And so it was, first level was horizontal, second level was vertical, going up from the earth to highest Yetzirah. And now third level, as explained in Zohar, is vertical again, but in opposite direction. Because according to Zohar, at the beginning of Creator, God created all souls of people who will ever live in this world. And when he said to Abraham, you know, leave this father's house, this land, this birthplace, come with me to land I will show you, it is now inducing Abraham to go from heaven, where soul was created and was waiting there, now going down to physical world, to get experience, to get pain and pleasures in physical world. So these are three interpretations according to Zohar of the same Torah study, same Torah story. Then there is a few more things about Abraham. Many of you, I hope almost all, remember the story when Abraham is sitting before his tent and at heat of the day, and he sees three people coming. He runs to them, bows down, and asks them to come to his tent to relax, to wash their feet. And Sarah and Abraham prepared the food for them, and they ate and had a discussion with Abraham. Now, if you read translation of Torah, it says at this point, and Sarah heard from opening of the tent. It implies by rabbis who wrote commentary on Torah that Sarah heard their discussion from opening of the tent. But when we read this portion with our rabbi about 3 years ago, I raised objection saying in Torah, in Hebrew, it is nowhere written that Sarah heard from opening of the tent. What is written there is Sarah heard opening of the tent. To rabbis and to translators, it makes no sense that Sarah heard opening of the tent. So they inserted there from, letter M in Hebrew. And they made it into Sarah heard from opening of the tent, which implied that Sarah stands somewhere in opening of the tent and heard their discussion. I believe it was explained like that by Rashi, and after that I believe in all commentators of Torah. And so I was very pleased to see again that rabbis, rebels of Zohar, noticed that. Okay? They said, Sarah heard opening of tent. What it does mean? By the way, 3 years ago also Rabbi, when he confirmed that it is really Sarah heard opening of tent, he asked me what it does mean. My reply was, I did not know. But perhaps, I said, tent perhaps means tree of life. And that was over. So, however, last week I really read that part in Zohar. And they say Sarah heard opening of the tent. What is opening of the tent? Opening of the tent is lowest Sephirah. It is Malkut, it is called Sephirah, it's called kingdom, and it is our physical world. It means that if you want to climb up in your soul, you cannot start somewhere in the middle. You have to start through opening of the tent, which is our physical world. So it shows importance of our behavior in this physical world. And even more, rabbis say, to enter it fully, one has to be righteous. You know, righteous is Sadiq, right? Sadiqim are a righteous one. So it's not enough just to be alive here. One has to make great effort to be Sadiq. And how to become tzaddik? It is something we discussed the last 2 years during the summer. How to not steal, how to not murder somebody else, even with our words, how to not lie, how to be honest in our dealing, etc. And the best path, how to be righteous, is according to this book by Moshe Chaim Lutzatto, who lived in 18th century. And the name of the book is The Path of the Just. And here he goes in all details how to get rid of, let us say, Lashon Hara, of idle talk, how to get rid of envy, of jealousy, how to get rid of anger, of depression, etc. It goes through one thing after another, step by step. And he goes through this 10 step, how to become a tzaddik. Yeah, and then when he's in the middle of the book, when you are already tzaddik, he says, whatever we have explained until now refers to what a person has to do in order to become righteous. From here onward, we will be talking how one can become holy. Condition of become holy is abstinence. Abstinence actually means to abstain and distance oneself from something which is permissible. So he's saying if you satisfy all mitzvah of Torah, all commandments of Torah, you will reach state of tzaddik, state of righteousness, and you can enter, you are in hold of this lower sephirah. But to get to higher, you have to sanctify yourself and you have to become holy. God says, you will be holy as I am holy. One must distance himself and abstain from anything whose emergence may lead to evil, even though in the immediate present it does not lead to evil. This means that one must forego those things that are permissible, that have not been prohibited, and he must abstain from them so that he will stay very, very far from evil. So, according to Zohar, if I try to summarize it, if you will become a righteous person, you have to fulfill all commandments of Torah and live like tzaddik in Jewish religion. But this does not entitle you to climb a higher level of spiritual evolution. Zohar says if you want to climb higher things, you have to sanctify yourself. Sanctify means to deny yourself some pleasure which are otherwise permitted. And Zohar says if you sanctify yourself a little, a lot of help in sanctification will come from above to you. Once you make first step, God will make for you easier and easier to sanctify yourself. And Tishbe, one of translator, really original translator of Zohar from Aramaic to Hebrew, it was Tishbe. And Tishbe said, to sanctify yourself, you have to abstain from two things. You have to abstain from wine, and you have to abstain from sex. And again, these are things which people will not want to do. If you have a choice, to be sanctified, come to closer to God, or to live with your sexual enjoyment each week or a few times a week, most people decide they don't care about going closer to God. They said, I am happy with my current state, don't bother me. So that most of Jews will say. And also from this reason, I believe rabbis will not teach anything like that to their congregation, because congregants could get angry on them and not to come back. Okay? I have special freedom. I don't have any congregation. So I can say what is written in Zohar, even if rabbis don't want to hear it. That's one of the reasons why rabbis put Zohar on back shelf somewhere, and for many hundred years did not look into that. Until in the 19th and 20th century, some Jews dig it up and starting reading it. So that was concerning, we have to distinguish righteousness and then sanctification to become holy. And Zohar again says, as well as Maimonides, this is not for everyone. They said most of people, Maimonides says especially, almost word by word, most of people live like cattle, and few of them like wild beasts. All right, so this is second thing I wanted to say about Abraham, and one more, very brief, is you also remember probably Parsha when Abraham went to war against 5 kings, and to get back to freedom his nephew Lot. He defeats the kings, and then a guy called Melchizedek comes to him. And it says that Melchizedek was king of Shalem, and he was priest of the Most High. They talk, Abraham and him, and after that there is a sentence in Hebrew, and he gave him 10th of all.
Say it again, please.
And he gave him 10th of all. And from Hebrew,
1/10.
yeah, he gave him 1/10, 10% of all. And in Hebrew, it is not clear, not very clear at least, who gave 10% to whom. From their opinion, Rabbi interpreted is that Abraham gave to Melchizedek 10% of what he had. And this is, I think, repeated in almost all commentaries on Torah, that it is Abraham who gave Melchizedek 10%. But I call these rabbis the rebels because they say, no, no, no. It is just the opposite. It is Melchizedek who gave Abraham 10%. He was priest of the Most High, and he gave Abraham 10%. So they asked what he gave him. He said, this is tree of life. It has 10 sephirot. What is 10%? It is 1 sephirah. So Melchizedek granted him full access to lowest sephirah, to Malkut, which is reserved really for righteous people. So he recognized Abraham as a righteous, and he gave him 10%. And this is just like example how rabbis treat Torah. There are many similar examples when Hebrew is not perfectly clear, and they switch it usually, very often, in the opposite way that most of rabbis would interpret it. That's why I call them, rebels of Zohar. So I think that's all when I finish the lectures planned for the last week. And now we come to today's lecture. So today's lecture is about creation, right? You know, it is Genesis and first parsha of Torah, which is called, what it is called? Bereshit, right. So parsha says, first sentence says, Bereshit bara Elohim et ha-shamayim ved ha-aretz. That sentence is usually translated, as far as I know, in all Torahs, in all Bibles, as in the beginning, God created heaven and earth. Of course, Rabbi could not leave this sentence alone, so they read several pages of explanation. I will not go through all of that. Bereshit, you know, bet preposition means in or with, mostly. Reshit means beginning. So first word is really in a beginning. There is no the, but it doesn't matter so much. Bereshit, second word is bara. If you look at bara, you know, in Hebrew, each verb is modified. It gets preposition, suffixes, and changing of vowel depending on who speak it. Whether it is I, you, he, she, etc. And also whether it is past tense, present, or future tense. Also whether it is active voice or passive voice. So all that is in Hebrew condensed into one word. Bara means he created. It is third person, masculine, singular, past tense. You know, I created would be barati. You created would be barata. And he created is such bara. So if we translate this word, we can read, in a beginning, he created. And now come Elohim after that. In Hebrew grammar, object can come after the verb. So bara Elohim can be translated as Elohim created. But the Rabbi, of course, said, no, let us read it as it is written. It is written, he created Elohim. So, and Elohim, you probably know, is plural, right? Singular would be Eloah, and Elohim is plural. So Rabbi said, so what he created here? What is the first thing? And they say, he created spiritual entity. You can call them, if you wish, angels or archangels, but he created spiritual like being, and he gave them power to create to them. So this first sentence can be written, in a beginning he created Elohim. Next word is et. Et is not, cannot be translated. It doesn't mean anything. It means a direct object follow. It is so-called direct object indicator. But et is composed from letters Aleph, which is first letter of alphabet, and Tav, which is last letter of alphabet. So et is similarly, as you said, Alpha and Omega, or from A to Z, which generally means everything in between. So this is et. After that comes Ha-Shamayim, which is of course heaven, Ved Ha-Aretz, which is earth. And by the way, Rabbi, this is at the beginning of Zohar, and 100 pages later you only learn that Et stands as a code word for Shekinah. Shekinah is feminine part of God, and it is God's presence in this physical world. So God created Elohim and Shekinah and heaven and earth. And that's what He created. This is the only piece which He, who is He? He is Ein Sof. So that's what He created. By the way, Christians also accepted modification of this sentence, except they said Et is not Shekinah, but Et is Jesus Christ. So Jew translated that God created Elohim, Jesus Christ, and heaven and earth. So we have a first day. We finished already first day, right? Now comes second day. Do you remember what is created in second day? Yes, second day is very special. Now it says, Elohim says, let there be rakia on second day. Rakia is difficult to translate from Hebrew to English. It is often translated as firmament, whatever firmament means. But it is firmament which separates water above firmament from the waters below the firmament. And if you look into commentary of various people, I am using Rashi and Maimonides and Bachia, 3 commentaries, you find that most of them try to bypass second day. By the way, God said, let there be rakia, and there was no rakia. After that, God made rakia. You may remember of the first day, God said, let there be light, and there was light. Just by word, by sound, He created light. But on second day, Elohim tried to say, let there be rakia, and nothing happened. So what He did, He had to made rakia. You see, that's the difference between saying something, and it takes place immediately, and saying something, and then you have to go to do it, to make it.
How do the rabbis translate rakia?
Firmament, usually. Yeah. It is not clear even in English to me what it means, so I just repeat what they say. Firmament. Now, last time, Rabbi wrote on this blackboard name of Maimonides. You remember, Maimonides was a person who was strongly against Maimonides, against his spiritual innovations. But here, Maimonides is almost correct. He said, oh, also on the second day, God did not say at all that it was good. In all other days, He said what He created. On the same day, He said it was good. And even in third day, He said twice it was good. But on second day, He does not say it was good. Maimonides say, second day is a great mystery of Torah. And he said, those who knows are not allowed to reveal it. And those who don't know are not allowed to ask. Okay? But that was in Middle Ages, right? It was in the 13th century. And meantime, mankind changed, and we are in different stage. And because of that, I believe that this prohibition don't apply today. So what happened, let me show you what happened. On the first day, God created heaven and earth. And they were next to each other. They were connected almost. So there was a direct influence of heaven on the earth. This influence was possible because they were next to each other. He created just heaven and earth. But on the second day, he created Rakia. Which separated heaven from earth. So direct connection from divine to mankind was not possible. So it was something, and that's really his word of Yetzirah, as we will learn later. So on second day, God created this partition between heaven and earth, which made direct connection between heaven, between God and man impossible. Now, I don't know whether it was by design or whether some of Elohim messed up his task. Elohims, they were like angels, and angels, you know, have one task. When he does it, he disappears. So we have clearly Elohim on the first day, which is one Elohim, and he disappears after that first day. And here come Elohim of the second day, which is different. Maybe he messed it up, or it was by design. I don't know. But now, after the second day, you know, these Elohim now gathered together, and they are thinking what we will do now, how we will fix it. And after second day, consequently, chronologically comes day number 6. That's why Elohim says to themselves, let us make a man. Let us make man in our image and our likeness. And he will basically, he will spread. Man, when he is holy, he can spread from the earth up to the highest heaven. So they say, let us make man in our image and in our likeness, and he will fix this, what happened on the second day. And now you have days 3, 4, and 5, and it is really nothing more than preparing the earth into putting into such a shape that man can live on the earth. Day 2, day 3, 4, and 5 is just preparing for day 6 when man is created. So we have really important days of creation is 1, 2, and 6. And 3, 4, 5 made it possible for man to live on the earth. Okay, I think it is a little bit different than what you have read and what you heard till now. As I am saying, I call the rabbis of Zohar rebels, because it seems to me that they try just to challenge regular rabbinic interpretation of Torah. They paid for it because nobody paid them attention for a couple of 100 years until now. And that's probably also reason why Maimonides writes, those who know are not allowed to reveal it, and those don't know are not allowed to ask, because really fall of man or disaster happened already on the second day, when we have this split between heaven and earth. We don't have to wait for Adam to eat the apple or other fruit of the tree to cause disaster. Disaster happened on second day. Maybe God planned it that way. I believe he did plan it that way. You know, also on the sixth day, Torah says, Elohim says, let us create man in our image and in our likeness. And 2 verses down is, and he created man in his image. Not likeness, okay? Why not a likeness? Because creating man in his image is to give him a soul with all this possibility. But in likeness would mean to get access to man immediately to the all Sephirah, to all Sephirah. This would be likeness of God. So, God did not create man in his likeness. Now, if you go on TV and listen to many preachers, for example, many of them will tell you that God created man in his image and in his likeness. It shows that they did not read Torah carefully. Because Torah said, let us create man in our image or likeness, that he can do that. But he created man only in his image. And now it is task of man to acquire all higher Sephirot through his sanctification, through his holy life, that he can eventually connect again directly earth with heaven. When this happens, it is coming on Messiah. Then everything lives in peace, in harmony, there are never any wars, nobody is ever hungry, etc. So God has not finished creation. It is nowhere written that he finished it in 6 days. It is just written that he rested on 7 days. And it is task of man to finish the creation. And how he can finish it? But climbing the tree of life from bottom to the top and reconnected earth directly to heaven. And we all are living now for a couple 1,000 years in what is called the 7th day of creation. So, I would like to hear some comments, even according to my suggestion of these 4 practical things which you have to do. Somebody can say, I will do.
How many dots is just right?
Nobody said, I will do. Okay. So, concerning eating meat, you people say you cannot drop eating meat, you could not be healthy, right? Some people, for some people it may be true, but I have not touched meat now 44 years. And I don't feel that I suffer because of that. It makes no difference to me, really. Yes?
I have a question. I was reading in Bereshit that God created 3 worlds.
No, 4.
And this was the 4th.
Yeah.
three before, and then this was the fourth. Can you say anything about that?
Yeah, they say that, Torah does not say in the beginning, it says in a beginning, so that it is one of the beginnings. And before our world, God created other worlds, it is said, other universes. But what was missing was this balance between right column and left column, between laws, between strict application of laws, and between love. He created some world with love only, and this world was not stable because it leads to chaos, right? And similarly, he tried to create the world with only the law, strict laws. Again, it was not feasible. Such world collapsed. So God created several worlds, and he destroyed them. Until by experimenting, he came to the good mixture of love and law. And it is our world when we have not unlimited love, and we have also limited laws, judgment. So we have balance between those two. Also, I can tell you the following. Even in our world, Kabbalists say, and Zohar says, there are really 4 worlds. 3 worlds which are spiritual, and 1 world which is physical. And this physical world contains the lowest sephirah and also second sephirah, part of second sephirah. This is the lowest world, which is called Asiyah. Asa means to make, to make. So it is world of making our physical world. 1 world above is called Yetzirah. Yetzer in Hebrew means to form. So it is world of formation. And this is the world where our soul, after body dies, goes to Yetzirah, to wait there before it will be incarnated next time. And Yetzirah on the tree contains this Sephirot here, 6 Sephirot. All the middle part is word of Yetzirah. And above that is word of Beria. Bara means to create, word of creation, which is represented by these 2 top Sephirah. So this is word of creation. And above all this 3 words is Absolute, where is Ein Sof, which we don't know anything about. So we have 4 words: Absolute, Beria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. Now, if we take 3 lower words, Asiyah, Yetzirah, and Beria, also our soul has 3 basic parts. The lowest part, which lives in this physical world in Asiyah, is called Nefesh. Nefesh. Nefesh, if I want to raise my hand, I have to think I want to raise my hand, then I have to contract my muscles and move my hand. But if you want to beat your heart, you don't have to think, I want to beat my heart now, right? I don't want my kidney to clean the blood, etc., etc. You have so many organs within you, from heart, let us say, to the most tiny cells of your body, which basically function automatically. And that's what is function of Nefesh, to take care of our bodies. that it functions properly without our effort. Breathing is something in between, because you can breathe if you want, and you can stop breathing if you don't want, right? But otherwise, internal organ and cells, that everything is on automatic pilot, which is nefesh. Also, animals have, of course, nefesh, right? Because their body function similarly to ours. Second part of the soul, which live in the world of Yetzirah, is called Ruach. Ruach is the second part. And as we try to purify ourselves, mostly we work with these Sephirot, which are part of Ruach, part of the world of Yetzirah. Lower part is just, our ability to respond to environment, our basic emotions like fear, etc. And a higher part of Yetzirah are so-called moral aspect. Animals, they also have a part of Ruach, right? They can also make decisions. You call your dog, right? And sometimes he thinks whether he should come or not. Or when he's hungry, he goes to his bowl to let it go, etc. So he can basic, simple thinking and intuition, impulses, dog has also. So dog probably can live with these lowest 4 Sephirot. Similarly, those people who Maimonides don't like so much, there are probably people who live basically with lower 4 Sephirot, who has no idea about justice, no idea about beauty, etc. He said, man is born with good inclination, Yetzer Hatov, and with evil inclination, Yetzer Hara. And he is given free will to decide between those two. So man has a chance of become holy man, or he has possibility to become very rough person. And it is all given to man. So we have Asiyah and Nefesh, we have Yetzirah and Ruach, and then we have Bariah, and the highest part is called Neshama. Neshama is the highest part of the soul. And again in Torah, when God created man and then he Yetzer man, then he formed the man from the dust. What God does, God breathes into his nostril Neshamot Chaya, Neshama of life. God breathes into man's nostril Neshama, the highest part of the soul, which distinguishes man from all other creation of the earth, from all animals. But next sentence says, and man became Nefshot Chaya, and man became Nefshot Chaya, Nefesh of the life. It does not explain what happened in between. God breathed into Adam's nostril Neshama, and Adam became Nefesh. It means he abandoned the highest part of the soul, and he kept you read the story, of course, about Adam and Eve, how they eat an apple, etc., which is just causing this disjointment between their nefesh and ruach and neshama. So God breathed into Adam's nostril neshama, the highest part of the soul, which originates in the highest level of heaven in proximity to Ein Sof. The highest part which man can have. He gave that to Adam. But Adam, through his behavior, abolished the higher part of the soul and became Nefesh Chaya. He became Nefesh of the light. He kept just the lowest part of the soul. And unless you have some questions, it's difficult to ask questions with mask, even more difficult to hear the questions, even without mask. So I will stop here. Remember, today I am finishing 5 minutes earlier, so next time I can take 5 minutes extra. Lord, we thank you. We thank you for today's lecture. We thank you for your guidance, and we hope that someone of us will say, I will do. Amen.